Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual breakfast sessions. I'm Larry Sashin. Today, we're going to be talking about training, communications, and how training and communications equals sales. But before we go into the topic, I want to thank the person who's paying our bills, but rather have me to talk about ERA Group. Ed, why don't you say hello to the people?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Good morning, everybody. Ed Flanagan, I'm a national practice partner for the ERA Group. We're a global company in 62 countries, and we help our clients make sure they're not overspending in over 50 different expense areas. We get paid by sharing in the savings. We work on a contingency basis. If we can't find savings, there's no fee. And in most cases, we're able to find savings from the current supplier. So there's no need to switch suppliers in most cases. So again, Ed Flanagan, the ERA Group.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. Back to our topic. How does training and communications equal sales? Richard, you've been training people for God knows how long. Tell us how that happens.
Well, training is a deliberate process that starts with the culture. It starts with what the restaurant or the food service and hospitality operation believes in the basics of presenting hospitality to the guests, whether it is in fast food all the way to fine dine. It is an element of hospitality. It is an element that is critical to the success of any operation.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what I forgot to do?
What'd you forget?
I forgot to have everybody tell everybody who you are. Richard, tell the people who you are. Let's go around the room and then we'll pick up where we left off.
All right, no problem. I'm Richard Weil. I'm the principal and owner of National Restaurant Consultants. We are a full service food service and hospitality industry consulting firm. We start from concepting all the way to opening, and then we work with clients all over the country in developing processes to create success. And I'm happy to be here. And Larry, thanks for having me join the breakfast club here this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Bob, say hello to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bob Parinello from Plum Safety based in New York. We are a safety training and consulting company, specialize in food safety, but we also do any kind of skills training, front of the house, alcohol, allergen, which knowledge is power and relate sales for sure. Having knowing and handling our customers well, out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dick, say hello.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, I'm the CEO of businessclass.tv and Sunrise to Sunset. And I've had the good fortune of doing a lot of consulting over the last couple of decades, primarily focused on communications. And then secondly, in the food service business, own a couple of restaurants and love the whole concept of training and believe in it 120%, as Larry has spoken to.
And Fred, say hi.
Hi, Fred Clashman, Total Food Service, editor and publisher, Total Food Service. What I'm particularly interested in this morning is, as I walk trade shows, all I hear about is automation and the end of a people-driven workforce. So I want to know what training is going to do to help us move forward and keep people in hospitality.
Okay, and once again, I am the forgetful Larry Sasha. So, Richard, I did remember where we left off. Why don't you continue and touch on what Fred said?
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room called AI and Chat GPT, et cetera, et cetera. The human element of hospitality, I don't think goes away. I do think that it's going to get in terms of certain components. I think that you're going to see it continue to evolve. Robotics, AI in terms of drive-throughs and things like that. I think that we're going to still see people. I still believe we are going to be human beings and we're going to have the need to touch and the need to communicate. And probably, I believe it's going to even be more important in terms of how we communicate with a live process. Do I see the generational components from the boomers, which if I look at the group that's assembled here today, I'm going to suffice to say that every one of us is a boomer. And, I think you move it all the way down to Gen Z and the millennials, et cetera, that in many cases, they don't want to talk to somebody. They'd rather just go through the process of a kiosk and have it done and see their number up there and see how that order's progressing. But I do believe that we're going to continue to have the need for training, the need for the human human touch, because humans are still going to need wants and desires, marketing 101, that we're going to have that ability to still taste, touch, and feel the person. And that training element starts from the day that you're interviewing to the day that you hire to the day that you onboard, and that training element is going to be there. There's the gentlemen that are assembled here today. We all believe in training. We believe in that process and what is importance of being able to sustain hospitality. And I think that's really the word. How are we going to sustain hospitality in our industry? And I think that training starts again for the day that you're hiring. You're hiring bright, shining, smiling faces. I think that's still an element. I'm going to go to the well and say it's going to have to continue to be an important piece of what we do. And I'll be curious to listen to what the others have to say about that training element and the importance. Was it does yield sales. It will yield sales.
You know, I hear exactly what you're saying, but I have to go back. Let's turn the clock back 30 years. All right. And going into the restaurant in Manhattan, and it was a joke that every comedian told, but it's true, that 90% of the waiters and waitresses in Manhattan 30 years ago were out of work actors. And when it came time for them to read the specials, they painted these beautiful pictures where you were actually interested in what they had to say, as opposed to somebody with a little pad in front of them reading like this in front of them, not looking at you and just reading words like it was a dictionary. All right. And, you know,
Yeah.
Dick, you run a restaurant now. Tell the difference between the two and why it is important that that you train people to communicate.
Well, to me, it's fundamental, absolutely critical for the success of the restaurant. And there's so many fundamental elements involved here. And one of the things a lot of folks forget about is I constantly remind these people to smile. And when I say smile, I'm not just talking about the physical attribute, because, you know, research will tell you that people can tell in 3 seconds the kind of person you are and how you're treating them, because the smile shows up in your voice. And so that becomes paramount in how we deal with people, you know, every day. The other part of that is, I think, and this again is fundamental, I'm sure we all believe the same thing, but the customer is always right, even when they're wrong. And that's one of those fundamental little statements that people have to be mindful of. And if these people are mindful, it has a huge difference in how they address those customers, how they interact, how the customer feels about them. And all that comes back to the customer coming back and the opportunity to upsell, depending on what you're trying to do.
But hold on one second. Dick, that sounds great. Okay. But if it's $20 an hour minimum wage and 2 people called in sick and there's X amount of people to work on the floor, that doesn't work anymore. So what's the reality of today's marketplace and today's workforce? How do you train? How do you make this work? If there's nobody, you know, like we were talking about basketball, if there's only 3 guys on the floor, what do you do?
Well, that's a completely different set of questions, I think, because you got to have people on the floor to get the job done. And that means you better have people prepared and be part of the team and be responsible. And the favorite word I like to use is accountability. You know, again, this is no magic, but having a AM, PM, FOH, BOH checklist that people have to sign off and use on a literal daily basis that we analyze and pay bonuses on is a very powerful tool. So it's that kind of thing, because that element of mutual respect and taking care of your partner and filling in the blanks is critical, especially with today's marketplace of where people's heads are at in terms of work, to your point.
Hey, Bobby Parinello, I want to ask this a little different way. You work in a world in the back of the house where nobody cares if there's any humans back there. They only care whether there's an ability to produce and to meet the HACCP standards or whatever they have to be met. What's going on in the back of the house that could be learned or moved into the front of the house?
Well, I think to both the comments, you got to have people on the floor, right? And I think going back to a well-trained staff, you're going to have less of those call-outs. Not to say, to reiterate, it's not magic, but a cohesive team that's both trained in the front of the back of the house. You know, I won't say gone are the days of the screaming chef and the flying frying pans, but there is, in a professional establishment and one that stands above the crowd, is a trained, cohesive team or teams, you know, front and back, and they support each other. And, you know, what a restaurant serves is service. It's really it'll be the leaders of tomorrow, the ones that really do invest and train their teams to be those humans again and have that service style at the tables, because we all know that there's a glut of, tablets and, black mirrors and that total, non-human interaction. So really what'll differentiate places of today and tomorrow are the places that capitalize on those sales skills, having those pre-shift meetings and really making them mean something. And I think, that's how we're going to, see the difference of, just a place to go and eat and a place that you'd want to go and take someone out to eat, or really a place that you're going to dine at,
So we've been talking theory, and we've been talking all these, what we'd like to see, something textbook type of thing. How do you actually train someone to smile and speak to people? Richard, some ideas. How do you train this first step?
I think I start off with the premise of look at me, smile at me, talk to me, thank me. And that is the basis of all my training is look at me, smile at me, talk to me, thank me. And I believe if you envelop that basic 4 pieces, that goes a long ways. I know that we mentioned just a few minutes ago the smile. Put the smile on the face, put the smile on the voice, put the smile in the nonverbals. I believe that. I believe you look at me, smile at me, talk to me, thank me. People genuinely still want to feel good about when they go dine out, whether they're even going through a drive-through or fine dining. They still want that hospitality component put into that. Whether you're spending $20 for a burger or $25 or more, you still want something that's presented to you with hospitality. So I believe that you train that look at me, smile at me, talk to me, thank me. And if you take those 4 components into the basis of what you're doing with training, you get an enormous return on that with your staff. And that is what I believe is the foundation to create that winning formula.
So, Mr. Dorn, I work on minimum wage. I'm a shift worker. Is that something you need to inject into me with some sort of a needle, or is that something that I can actually be taught and learn and take to work every day?
It's a culture. It's a total component of culture. I think it starts with the culture. It is the culture. It's look at me, smile at me, talk to me, thank me. It's the culture. I don't believe you have to sit there and post a mission statement or components of that. It's that simple to me. It is a needle, if you would. It's something that is becomes a belief, and it becomes a practice that is not negotiable, and it's back of the house, front of the house, it's everything in between.
Now, is
I
that
would also
done?
add
Is
that,
that done through just training, or is that best accomplished, like Dick said, about with incentive? You meet certain levels, you get certain amount of money. What drives people to do that besides you get to keep your job? Because there's always another one someplace else.
Are you asking me, or you want to
I'm
genuinely
asking
put that up?
whoever wants to answer the question.
Well, I think hopefully everybody kind of agrees that it's part of that culture, it's part of that training, and it's a belief, and it doesn't go away. It's at every touch point that you create.
Okay.
I would add one, I think, important element, and that is it starts at the top at every organization. So
Yep,
that
agreed.
cultural development, that attitude with people, the attitude with employees, the attitude shown with customers, and actually, talking and visiting with customers is critical to get the point across to any individual that, hey, this is part of the team. This is how we operate. If you want to be successful, we want you to be successful. This is how it's done.
So what you're saying is follow me as opposed to do what I say.
Exactly. Or both.
All right. Hey, Bob Heiss.
Yes,
You've been training people in sales for God knows how many years.
more than I can count.
What
Yeah. So
would how would you add to that as the incentive? You work with restaurants.
well, I think a really important point was just made, and that is it starts from the top. Culture flows downhill, and if you're leading with a bad example, nobody's gonna miraculously be better than you. It's just not going to happen. But I think one other element that is kind of being danced around, but not mentioned yet, is that of selection. Larry and I went to high school together. We had a coach that coached us, and his favorite favorite saying was, you can't make chicken soup out of chicken poop. So if you're picking the wrong people in the first place, they're liable to be untrainable. You're picking somebody that or selecting somebody that does not smile to anyone in their life, is discourteous, has no ability to communicate. I don't care, and I'm all of you as trainers are great. I know I'm the best trainer on the planet. I know that, but what you can't. It's really hard if you select the wrong person to train them. It's just that. So there's got to be an element of selection, and look, there's loads of assessments out available to restaurant owners, to everybody, to assess whether that person has the ability to communicate, if they are extroverted and big picture people, or are they introverted and detailed people. You got to hire the right people. So I just wanted to throw that in. I think that's critical.
So how do you do that in a marketplace where half of what you used to have as a marketplace has been deported, and the other, and the other half don't exist anymore? Like where do these miraculous employees come from?
Right.
And then I walk into a trade show and I see a fryolator arm that's automated, and then I don't have to worry about what should I be thinking about?
Well, it is a giant problem, I think, and I think one of the things owners can't do is give up and just settle for whoever's available. I think it's a process, as most of all all food people know this. It's a recruitment process that never stops. It's always going, and you have to have, I guess, well, here's how it goes for you. You have to have an ideal candidate profile. You have to have a profile of all the attributes of the perfect person. And when you are selecting somebody, trying to hire them, trying to recruit them, whatever you're doing, you have to be able to measure that person against the ideal. And there's going to be gaps. There's going to be sometimes large gaps. And your decision is, can I coach and train through those gaps, or is it impossible, or how much effort will it be? But I think most people probably just give up and take any warm body that comes in if they're available, particularly if they've got 5 slots and 3 people are out sick or quitting. You'll take any warm body at all. And of course, you have to do that temporarily, but that's not really a long-term plan.
One of the things that I've incorporated in people that I've tried to help, and also in my own case specifically, is developed a habit of getting 3 people. Takes a little longer, but to your point, 3 people that I trust within the operation that are at that level or one level above, and actually get them involved in the process. And if any one of the 3 says no, we don't hire them.
It's a good idea.
That's letting the team pick their teammate.
Exactly.
As long as they're not related to the people they're picking.
Yeah, that makes it
Oh, that never
makes it hard.
That never happens. All right. So we've gotten all these hypotheticals and we've talked about different checklists. The actual training. How often do you train? When do you train? And what do you train? All right. Richard, why don't you start?
You're training every day. I mean, I think the comment that was made, tone at the top, it's the howdy rounds. I call them howdy rounds. It starts with saying good morning even. It's that pleasantry in terms of exuding hospitality. Hospitality is on a daily basis. And if the manager, owner, supervisor is on point in terms of saying good morning, how you doing, how's your day, that starts even with the training piece. I don't think you ever stop training, because training is the habit. We talked about it. It's making sure people are doing things right. It's catching people doing the right things. It's reinforcing. How often do you train? You're training every day. There's formal training, there's informal training. And I think that's those definitions. Sure, you're going to be going through informal training. And then I think having those ambassadors within your own organization, reinforcing the right things the right way that's going on in your organization. And those 2 or 3 people that I think it was Dick who just mentioned that, I think that's right. I think you got to have those people reinforce all those positive habits that are required and then things that are acceptable. And you praise in public, you punish in private, and that's part of training as well.
I see 2 different types of training. I see the planned training and I see instant training. Planned training is, 3 days a week, we're going to meet 5 minutes before your shift and I'm going to go over something with you. Instant training is, you see somebody do something bad, stupid, damaging, it could be, and it's not even if they're doing something wrong. It's the diner's perception. I was in a pizza place once that had an open oven when you got to see the guy making the pizza, one of those big hearth ovens, and he was holding the peel blade down on the ground. Now, granted, the second he sticks that thing in a 900-degree oven, the bacteria is dead. But the horror on the face of the people at my table when they saw that thing on the ground was, let's put it this way, everybody changed to sandwiches. All right. So, how do you plan these things? How do you plan teaching basics that you assume people know? How often do you work on things, even though people are doing it right? How often do you tune these things so they work like clockwork? Bob, in your case, if people do things wrong, people get sick, and that's not good for a restaurant.
Right.
So, Bob, how do you train things that everybody should already know?
Well, it happens. Well, let's take, hand washing, right? Everyone should know how to wash their hands. I don't think anyone ever gets up in the morning and says, oh, it's so hard. I hope I get it right today. But we take shortcuts. We do the splash and dash. And how do we get the training done? As has been said, it's continual. So it's, it's going over to that person and saying, hey, let me show you not only how to wash your hands, but using that paper towel to turn off the faucet, for instance, and so on. And it's that immediacy and that ongoing constant training that really develops a team. And nobody wants to be called out by something silly that they do, putting the peel on the floor or doing, what have you, or scratching their face and then going to something else. But it's the same in the front of the house. Like a lot of times I see a big deficit in some operations that they get a waiter, they get them onboarded, here's the menu, here's the POS, and they send them out on the floor. And unless there's someone complaining, they're checked off the list that they're another wait staff. And like that constant, trying to be within earshot of service skills and refining and getting better, because not everyone is that waiter who really is trying to pour it on and make a splash at the table. And just being an order taker and transporting food from the kitchen to the table, if that's what the waiter becomes in this AI world, that some people would accept, that's not going to bridge the gap to successful establishments. So there's I think the immediacy and that it's challenging to be there, not be like over someone's shoulder, but in the front of the house, it's more difficult to kind of be right, table side, so to speak. We've all been to places where there's the waiter and there's the one literally on their shoulder that's shadowing, but that happens in certain type establishments. And then once they pass the audition, they're on the floor. So I think we must not forget that constant awareness.
I could hear the clock ticking, folks.
Yes.
It's that time. But before we go around the room to give that one little tidbit that people should remember when it comes to training, let's once again thank Ed Flanagan and the ERA Group. Ed, why don't you say goodbye to the people?
Goodbye, people. Thanks for participating in Larry's program here. Enjoyed the discussions.
All right, thank you, Ed. All right, so let's go around the room, give that one little tidbit that people should know before they open up this morning in their shops. Why should they pull the staff over for 3 minutes? Dick.
I'm not sure this answers that question, but one other thing that strikes me is in the midst of much of this conversation is I'll call it peer pressure, because when we talk about this continual training, which we all obviously need and want to happen, we talk about the peers and both peer pressure from a perspective of you got to do it right, and in addition to that, if in fact the culture is in the right place, moving in the right place, it's also peer support. So in both those instances, you're trying to keep things where they're supposed to be. And we know what happens when the surprise visit comes from the health inspector and things aren't done correctly. So I believe that really has a lot of help.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Bob.
Well, again, just want to remind everyone to that service is really, I think, the key to longevity in the trade, and training is a step to get us there. Don't stop, as has been said, praising and catching people doing things right, and taking advantage of those slow times in the business when some waiters will say, I only have 3 tables or 2 tables, and turn that into great, really focus on those 2 tables and, nail it and make them our loyal customers and so on, as opposed to just, looking at the sheer volume. So I think just the nuances of the training, and I share everyone's passion for making it happen out there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Richard.
I think it's been said, but be human. Teach them to be human. I think that's there. I think is the opportunities. We can still be human beings. Teach them to be human, and remember that word of kindness as part of our industry.
Okay, and Fred.
So I think this is about working backwards. I think the relationship between the staff in the front of the house and the customer should never be sacrificed or changed, regardless of how much technology comes in. I think it should always be face to face. So I think you work backwards, and the minute at which you don't need to be face to face with the customer, I think you should be looking at bailing out of humans and getting into whatever automation you can start to utilize to make your process and profit more efficient.
Okay, I'm going to go back on my little parting phrase here. I'm going to go back on something that Fred said. What do you do when somebody doesn't show up, or somebody walks out? Anybody that follows hockey or soccer, when the referee holds up the hand in a hockey game and somebody's in the penalty box, or when somebody holds up a red card in a soccer game and a player is sent off. Good teams play their best ball or hockey during that period when they're a man short. Why? Because they've been trained, and they trust their team. And a restaurant's no different. Of course, there is a breaking point, but when you're a man short, or if somebody's walking slower because they're not, they're limping or whatever, the rest of the team has to pick up the slack, and that's only done through training and teamwork. So instead of throwing up your arms, call everybody in and spend 3 minutes with them. So that's it. We're going to be back next week, and we're going to be talking about turning the tables, strategies to survive the dining downturn. It's going to be an interesting conversation, and we hope to see you back next week. But until then, there's only 2 things I want to say. Everyone, stay positive, test negative, and I'll see you next week. Bye now, folks.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Take care, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.